my daughter's lie about my husband walking in on her. Now, our marriage was destroyed beyond repair. I'm 35. I never imagined my life would spiral into this kind of chaos. Looking back now, that Thursday evening feels like a dream, or rather, a nightmare that I can't wake up from. My husband, David, and I had been married for just over 5 years, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly loved and respected. David wasn't just a good husband to me. He brought light back into our lives when Maggie and I needed it most. After my divorce, we'd both felt so lost, just trying to make it through each day. But then David came along, and everything changed. He never tried to force his way into Maggie's life or replace her father. Instead, he was just there. There to help when her car broke down on the way to class. There to listen when she worried about choosing her major. There to celebrate when she made the dean's list. At 19, Maggie needed guidance, not a replacement dad, and David understood that perfectly. He found that delicate balance between being supportive and giving her space to find her own way. I remember telling my sister Marie just months ago, "You know, I really hit the jackpot with David. The way he treats Maggie. It's more than I could have hoped for." "You deserve it," she replied. "After everything with John, you deserve someone who treats you both right." I'd never picked up on anything inappropriate between them, and Maggie never expressed any discomfort or concerns. If anything, she seemed grateful to have a stable male figure in her life. But everything changed that Thursday evening. We were watching a movie in the living room, some action film David had picked. The three of us were sprawled across the couch, sharing popcorn and making casual commentary about the plot holes. "I'm going to use the bathroom," David announced during a slower scene, getting up from his spot between us. I barely registered his departure, too caught up in the movie. But moments later, I heard 2 distinct knocks, followed by screaming that made my blood run cold. "Get out! Get out!" Maggie's voice echoed through the house. I jumped up, my heart pounding, and rushed toward the bathroom. David was stumbling backward, his face ashen, while Maggie, wrapped in a towel and clearly distraught, continued yelling. "What happened?" I demanded, looking between them. "What's going on?" David held up his hands, his voice shaking. "I knocked. I swear I knocked." There was no answer, so I thought. "He didn't knock," Maggie interrupted, clutching her towel tighter. "He just walked in." "Everyone just calm down," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Maggie, honey, were you wearing your earphones?" There was a pause, and I saw realization dawn on her face. She reached up and pulled out her wireless earbuds, the ones she always wore while showering. "Oh," she said quietly. I didn't hear." David's shoulders sagged with relief. "I'm so sorry, Maggie. I really did knock. I would never intentional." "No, I'm sorry," Maggie cut in, her voice smaller now. "I was listening to music. I shouldn't have screamed at you." They hugged awkwardly, and I thought that would be the end of it. Just an unfortunate misunderstanding that we could laugh about later. The next morning I was making coffee when my phone started buzzing incessantly. First Marie, then my mother, then my cousins, all calling and texting with increasing urgency. "How could you let this happen?" Marie's voice crackled through the speaker when I finally answered. "What kind of mother are you?" "What are you talking about? Your husband." Turns out, Maggie told Marie's daughter, Jessica, David walked in on her in the bathroom deliberately, that he's been making her uncomfortable for months. My coffee cup slipped from my hand, shattering on the kitchen floor. "He what?" "No. That's not what happened at all. There was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding? Wake up. Your daughter is terrified." I ended the call and immediately went to find Maggie. She was in her room, scrolling through her phone with a troubled expression. "Maggie," I said, my voice stern. "What did you tell Jessica?" She looked up, startled. "Nothing. I mean, I just mentioned what happened." "Really? Because according to Aunt Marie, you told her daughter that David deliberately walked in on you, that he's been making you uncomfortable for months. Is that true?" Maggie's face crumpled. "No, we were texting, and Jessica asked if anything weird had happened lately, and I told her about the bathroom thing, but I didn't say all that." "Show me the texts." She hesitated before handing over her phone. The conversation with Jessica was worse than I'd imagined. Maggie had left out crucial details, making it sound like David had ignored her response when he knocked, and she'd added vague comments about weird vibes that had never been mentioned before. "Why would you do this?" I asked, my voice breaking. "You know that's not what happened." I didn't think Jessica would tell anyone else. She just kept asking questions, and I got caught up in the conversation, and before she could finish, we heard the front door slam. David walked into the room, his face drawn and tired. "I just got called into HR," he said quietly. Multiple people, called my workplace with accusations about me being inappropriate with my stepdaughter." Maggie's face went white. "What? No, I didn't. I never meant." "I know you didn't mean for this to happen," David cut in, his voice carefully controlled. "But it has happened, and now I have to deal with the consequences of something I didn't do." He turned to me, and I could see the pain in his eyes. "I'm going to stay with my parents for a few days. I need space to think." "David, please," I started, but he was already heading to our bedroom to pack a bag. Maggie followed him, tears streaming down her face. "David, I'm so sorry. I'll tell everyone the truth. I'll fix this." He stopped and turned to face her. "Will you? Because right now, your cousin and our entire family think I'm some kind of predator. Even if you tell the truth now, how many of them will believe you were forced to change your story? How many will always look at me with suspicion?" The next few days were a nightmare. David returned briefly on Friday to discuss our situation, but it wasn't the conversation I'd hoped for. "I want a divorce," he said simply, sitting at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared countless family meals. "No," I whispered. "We can fix this. We can go to counseling. Can we?" He pulled out his phone and showed me the messages he'd received. "Threats, accusations, vile names. Your family has already decided what kind of person I am. Even if Maggie tells the truth now, there will always be doubts. I can't live like that." What if I hesitated? What if Maggie moved out? What if we moved away from here, started fresh? He shook his head. "No, that's not fair. I'd never ask you to choose between your child and me. And if you did choose me, I don't think I could respect that decision. The only solution is to end this now." Maggie, who had been listening from the hallway, burst into the room. "Please don't leave because of me. I'll record a video right now, telling everyone what really happened." David held up his phone. "I'm recording this conversation because that's what my life has become now. I can't have any private conversations with my family without documenting everything to protect myself." Maggie broke down completely then, admitting between sobs how she'd embellished the story while texting with Jessica, how she'd never meant for it to escalate, how she'd thought people would just forget about it because everyone knows you're not like that. David played the recording of her confession for my family, but as he predicted, the damage was done. Some suggested we had coerced her into recanting. Others apologized, but their words rang hollow after their rush to judgment. He gave us 3 months to move out of his house, the house he'd owned before our marriage. He promised to finish paying Maggie's tuition for the year and let her keep the car he'd given her for her birthday. But beyond that, he was done. "I loved you," he told me on his final night in the house. "I still love you, but I can't stay in a situation where one misunderstanding, one moment of bad judgment by a teenager, can destroy everything I've worked for. I'm sorry." Now, weeks later, I'm still trying to process how quickly everything fell apart. Maggie has cleared up the rumors with our family, but she's struggling with guilt and depression. I've blocked most of my family's numbers. Their apologies mean nothing after they so readily believed the worst about the man I love. David won't see me anymore. His lawyer handles all communication. The man who used to kiss me goodbye every morning now treats me like a potential threat. "Mom," Maggie said to me last night, her voice small in the darkness of our living room. "Do you hate me?" "No, honey," I replied, pulling her close. "I don't hate you. I wish you had understood the power of words before you used them so carelessly. I don't know how to fix this. The trust is broken, not just between David and me, but between me and my family, between Maggie and herself. All I can do is take things day by day, hoping that somewhere in this mess, there's a lesson that will make us all better people. But for now, I'm left with the bitter knowledge that sometimes the biggest lies are the ones we tell without thinking, and the deepest wounds are the ones we inflict on the people we love most.